Imposter syndrome is the best example that I can think of. When you are getting ready to pick up that phone and call a CEO or call a GM of a car dealership, let the thought flow in and flow out that that person is not willing to talk to you and that you are not qualified enough to speak to that person, that you don't know enough to speak to that person. Those are all just thoughts, and you can just let them go out just the same as they came in.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Sales Spark Podcast. My name is Jason Barnaby, your host, and I am here today with the amazing Ashley Beck. I'm going to say it right. Cuellar. Did I say it right?
Cuellar.
Damn it. I was so close. Cuellar. Okay. Ashley and I have known each other now for 8-ish years, I think.
Probably.
If you watched the first episode with Brian Neal, we actually met when we both were being certified in blind zebra content, and we have been friends ever since. So, Ashley, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to have you. And I think I may have said on the first show to Brian that I'm pretty sure I did, that I am comfortably unaware of things. For example, like when I said, do you want to be on my podcast called the Sales Spark Podcast? Your response was, please go ahead.
My company's name is Sales Spark Coaching. So of course I will be on your podcast.
So I was like, oh yeah, I think I knew that. So yeah, it just makes sense. It just makes sense that you would be good. So I'm curious for you, why did you call your company that?
Sales Spark?
Yeah.
Because I would say I wanted sales to be in the name, because I'm one of those people who, like, if you Google it, what comes up first, right? You know, that type of thing. But also, I think I am a high energy person and have a lot of spark, if you will. And so that, and also I just think that a lot of the sales coaching that I do lends itself to being a spark in people's sales team. You know, it's that type of,
I love that,
and things like that.
That's awesome, which is very similar to what I do in my business. And, you know, I say strike the match a lot, and we talk about sparks and fire and heat and all those things. So this is very synergistic, and I'm super excited to have you here. And I would like for you to tell the people listening a little bit about tell us about your sales career. How did you get into it? What did you do? And what are you doing now?
Well, so funny enough, lots of people would probably tell you my sales career started way before I would tell you my sales career started. My boss in college, I was a waitress in college at a little family restaurant at Ball State. And my boss would tell anybody that wants to hear it now that I was the best salesperson on the floor. That he printed T-shirts one time, and I convinced him to let me sell them to customers, and they became a thing, and everybody wanted a T-shirt.
Of course they did.
Yeah. And so
this is my surprise face, by the way.
Yeah. I know. You're like, oh, shocker. Yeah. So that would be, you know, like in my 20s, but my parents would probably also tell you I was trying to sell them on things way before that. What I would tell you, my formal sales career started in 2007 with a company that was called Tri-Auto at the time. Became Perk Marketing, but I sold direct mail to car dealerships. That is what I did for 17 years.
Wow. Okay. That's so for those of you who are out there going, you sold direct mail for 17 years. Unpack that for us. What does that look like? What was a daily deal for you? What kind of clients did you have?
Well, it started out, so I was hired with a large group. I think there were 20 of us at the beginning, and we were just given sales. They had just gotten Salesforce for the team. And so we had our CRM, our list uploaded to our CRM, and we were given our territories, and we just started hitting phones. And I would make 75 calls a day. And
wow. Okay. Hold on. So 70, did they just say, here's your CRM, go? Did you have a script? Did you have bullet points, make it up as you go? What'd you do?
No, we did some training. It was very Sandler style training. I think we even trained at Lucian.
And for those who are not familiar with Sandler training, tell us what that means.
It's a sales philosophy of coaching and training. And God love them. There is a lot of stuff that I got from that, but it's a lot of like tactics. I often feel like, which is not necessarily like repeatable tactics that are scripted. And I'm not a fan of the scriptedness.
We are on the same page. No pun intended.
But I get it. When you're a baby salesperson, you do need a little bit more guidance and some words. But I think being able to take the script and make it your own is what makes people good at it.
Okay.
So started there. People just started dropping like flies. Like, I don't want to make 75 calls a day. I'm out of here. There was like 4 of us within about 2 weeks.
So was 75 the quota?
I think maybe 50 was. Okay. I don't necessarily know. It was kind of like a, you better be hanging with the crowd situation.
Gotcha.
And I vaguely remember 50 being a number that I was targeted to hit a lot of times. But so I did that for, I did lots of calls a day, not 75. It was 75 at the very beginning, but it was less later on. But I did cold calling just straight out to build my book of business for like 2.5 years. And I was calling car dealerships, and it was no research. It was like,
because we're talking how many years ago?
2007. That was, almost 20 years ago.
So were any of these people, could you find anything about them were you even on LinkedIn at that time?
In 2008, I built a LinkedIn profile when I met Brian Neal, and he came in to be my sales coach and was like, you have to have a LinkedIn profile. And
sounds about like Brian. Yep. I'm sure Brian Neal is going to be mentioned many times on the Sales Spark podcast for sure.
So once I back up, I would like what we call social selling now, kind of was stalking back then. And it was just looking people up on Facebook or whatever. Facebook was really all there. MySpace, probably when I started in 2007.
Ooh, yeah, you're probably right.
But like just looking people up on websites, like I would just go to the dealer, but I didn't even do that. I was making so many calls a day at the beginning, but I wasn't even checking their website. I'm just like, next number, dial, ask for the general manager. And so eventually I got some people. I was persistent enough that eventually somebody said yes. And I got to have some clients.
Do you know how long it took for you before you got your first yes?
It was 90 days.
Interesting. Do you remember who your first yes was?
I do. His name was Tom, and it was a dealership in like outside of Boston. And I remember the product specifically.
Isn't that interesting? Interesting?
Yeah. Well, because 90 days was a long time. It was still I know there were other people that beat me to it. But 90 days was like, you're pushing it if you haven't gotten anything in 90 days.
Yeah. So let's pause here for a moment for people who are listening. For those of you who are in a BDR role, you're fresh out of school, you're smiling and dialing, as we like to say in the sales world. Could you do it for 90 days, 50 calls a day? That is banging it out. And that's a lot of no's. And so you will hear me talk a lot on this podcast about grit. And I don't mean grit like work till you die, like burn yourself out, but picking up the phone after every no, picking it back up after every no, going in again the next day after a day full of no's. And when you think about, I would be very interested to know in that 90 days, how many no's you collected, because there had to be probably hundreds.
So many.
And before we move on from that, I'm curious if you remember, what was the worst thing somebody said to you when you called them? Because I've heard of people like getting cussed out and, like, what? Don't ever call here again. Did you get any of that?
No, I had a lot rougher conversations once people became clients, because I don't know how, much you've worked in the auto business, but it's a pretty rough crowd. And I got like people hang up on me and lots of people tell me don't call back. But that kind of stuff is going to happen.
Sure.
And so if you just get the mindset that like, it's going to happen and there's another dial to make. So just keep going. It's funny. I met somebody once who asked me if I thought I was a people pleaser. And I was like, I do kind of think I am. And they were like, well, then how do you deal with rejection as a salesperson? And I was like, because there's another person, there's one more person sitting right beside that one. So
I love
just
that.
move on to the next one. And also one of my tactics for any BDRs out there listening who are doing what Jason was talking about, I used to take catalogs. I know catalogs are hard to come by these days. I had a jewelry catalog that sat at my desk.
For you millennials, go look up a catalog on Google.
Yeah. Seriously. I guess nowadays it would be like just shopping online or something while you're dialing. But it was like to have my brain doing something else so that I'm not focused as much on the like negative interaction. I'm just like, hey, is Bob in today? Nope, Bob's not here today. Okay, thanks. Talk to you later. Whatever it is.
Interesting.
And I'm just flipping through because that made the 50 calls go by faster.
I love that idea because and also we should probably say, if people haven't figured it out by now, that we are both extreme ADHD folks, and we send each other Instagram memes and things that we found about ADHD because it's real. The struggle is real.
And giving your brain another thing to be focusing on is still real for us. So that was something I always did. I did it. I also would use that when I would have to have like a really hard conversation. It's the most bizarre thing. People kind of think it's weird because they're like, you're not focused on the conversation. And I'm like, no, actually that allows me to focus.
100%. And so let me say this to the sales manager who thinks your salesperson is jerking around and not doing what they need to be doing because they have a fidget toy at their desk, or they have another website open where they're shopping for car parts, or the perfect vacation,
or coloring.
Yeah. Oh, I think yes, coloring or whatever. That I feel like I just started learning about my ADHD specifically a little over about a year and a half ago, and it's interesting because it's so different for everybody, but there are a lot of similarities. And this whole like somebody is doing something else, it really does help them listen. So when you take that thing away because that's not the way you would do it, you're taking away something that's actually helping them be more successful. Absolutely. So I think that's really, really interesting. So let me just say 90 days, that's badass that you kept it going. And then you worked there for 17 years.
Yeah.
Do you remember how long it was between the first client at 90 days and when you got the next, Jess?
Like another 90 days.
Holy crap.
Well, because think about what year it is. We're walking into a recession and car dealerships are literally closing their doors on a daily basis.
That's right.
And so I was coming up against some pretty tough economic times and was really just buying my seat 1 month at a time. Actually, you know what? It may have only been 30 days. I think after the first 90, I had a deal. I had at least one deal every 30 days until I started to pick up pace.
Okay.
I maybe had 1 month that I missed in there, but it was pretty close.
And when you say pick up pace, what does pick up pace mean for you? What pace did you eventually get on?
Well, so by the time when I was full blast, when I was like managing accounts, and it was full cycle account management, right? Okay. So I'm sourcing my own leads. I'm doing all my own discovery and demos, doing all my own closing, doing all my own account management. I had people that helped me with like processes and things like that. But for the most part, it was, me doing client management as well. And so
you didn't have like an internal salesperson who was doing things for you. You were doing all the things.
Yep. I had an account manager who she would help me like put together the lists and I had a graphic artist. So that kind of stuff, but no, like no customer management situation, no like client management to help me, but which was great. I love that. Like I like to have the relationship and I didn't want to pass that off. That was how I liked to operate. Okay. And so when I was going full force, I was about like at the top of my game, $5 million a year in approximately $20,000 direct mail deals. So in my career with Perk, I was right around 49 million in revenue. So and that didn't even start though until 2012 is when I started, when we started recording the revenue as mine, because before that I was on a team and I was like kind of a BDR and kind of I did some like operational stuff. So I was part of a team at that point, and that it was tied to Steph. So the revenue was tied to Steph at that point. And then when Steph became a manager, I also got the rest of her book of business.
Gotcha. So, and for those listening, that's Steph Neal, also known as the wife, and I believe she is the CEO at Blind Zebra.
She is. I call them sales mom and dad.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. That's pretty accurate. I like that. I love it. So you were there for 17 years. Yep. What did you love? What did you hate?
I loved being an expert in something that was really niche, like the direct mail that I did in particular, and most of the direct mail, but I knew forwards and backwards whether your stuff was going to work or not. Yes, I was wrong sometimes, but I knew how to make a campaign do what we wanted it to do, which was get people in the door.
Interesting.
And I loved being able to, like, when I would close a client and know that like I could take over everything for them and make it so hard for them to leave me. I love being good at that. Like I love being able to be so expert level that they didn't need to check in. They knew that what was coming was quality product and that they were going to be happy with what I did.
That's awesome.
I did not love that it felt like a startup forever.
That can be a grind.
It was a startup, and then they started a software company with the money we were making. And so the whole vibe always was just very startup.
Very bootstrappy.
Yeah. And we were funding the startup. And so all the shiny objects, all the fun toys, all the big conferences, they went to that. And I just was, down in the basement cranking out cash.
On your dime.
Yep.
Well, on the dime that you were making.
Yeah. Well, and so at the end, when it came down to the end and I was ready to leave my career there, they asked me to help rebuild that side of the business. And I was like, I just don't have any passion for this anymore, guys. Like the marketing that I was selling was no longer something that I saw that much value in or wanted to be selling anymore. And so I just knew it was time. I was like, I just don't think I have the passion to be able to rebuild.
And that's a really good point that you bring up, because, I know that there are people who are going to be listening to this who are like, dude, I just need a job and I'm going to sell whatever I need to sell. But I do believe, because what I sell in my business, it's something that I've built and something that I believe in. It's easy for me to sell it because I believe in it. I've definitely been sold to by people who I know, as they're talking to me, don't believe in what they're selling me. They don't know about what it is. If we ask them, they're like, you ask them any kinds of questions and they're like, or you can tell that they're just making shit up. And I'm like, you know what? I'd just rather you wouldn't even give me an answer instead of make it up. Yeah. So I find that's interesting that was a turning point for you, and a good segue into when it got to that point, you decided to do what?
I decided to leave and start my own sales coaching business.
Wow.
So that is where we are today.
And that sales coaching business, ladies and gentlemen, is called
Sales Spark.
Sales Spark. What a perfect match for today. So tell us a little bit about what you do. Tell us about why you do it, and tell us also, because obviously this is something that you have passion around. Tell us why that passion is there.
Yeah. Well, so it's actually been it's been a year since I got my last paycheck from them.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And a year since I opened my LLC. And I really have taken the time to let the energy of the universe just bring me some things. Like what I had in mind, right? That was the thing that was in my brain.
Yep.
But I also said yes to things that were different because I felt energy towards them, and I don't know what I don't know. And so I had a great time doing a seminar about ChatGPT for an association of dental business brokers. That was one of the things that I've done.
Okay, I think what you're doing, and I want you to continue, but what you're doing right now is so important because I think many of us think when we leave whatever the thing is that we've done, we're going to go do a thing, right? Like I'm sure you thought I'm going to do sales coaching, right? I thought when I left that I was going to sell leadership development to HR people.
Yeah.
Some, but I, I have our good friend, our sales dad, Brian Neal, to thank when he said to me, "Why aren't you doing fractional sales leadership?" And I told him, I'm like, "Well, I don't know what that means. I probably would if I knew what it meant." So he explained it to me, but I love what you said. And this is one of the greatest pieces that I think people miss. And I'm doing some of this right now. I have some things that are outside my normal scope of business, but I have energy toward it and I'm good at it and I enjoy it. So I'm pitching it and I'm looking at it. That's one of the beauties of being in the place that you and I are both in, because you can say yes to things. You can also say no to things. And I will also say I've been in business for 7 years. I've probably pivoted, I don't know, no less than 7 times, probably more than that, at least once a year. COVID helped that tremendously. But I love that here's what I find that makes people in sales successful. We say yes if we have the energy, right? We say yes to the thing and then we go figure out how to do it.
Absolutely.
So tell me more about this ChatGPT thing.
Well, so that was just random. I had a girlfriend of mine is the CMO for Centric Consulting. She actually knows Brian and Steph as well. I met her through Blind Zebra, Raquel. And she and I had lunch and she was like, "I've been seeing you all over LinkedIn." And I was like, yeah, I know. And she, she mentioned a girlfriend of hers who's the executive director for this association who needed somebody to come in to do a seminar. And she wanted it to be on AI or something like that. And I was telling Raquel how I had trained my ChatGPT to make playlists for my yoga classes. For those listening, I'm also a yoga instructor.
It's pretty baller. We will talk about the yoga thing in just a minute, but yeah.
Okay, good. Because Jason was in my first ever class.
I was sweating like a freaking pig. It was so hot in there.
It's so good.
I don't know the last time I've sweated. Is that what we say? The last time I've sweated like that, but it was really good.
Yeah.
And you're an amazing teacher.
Thank you. Thank you. It has gotten so much better. You'll have to come to another class sometime. Anyway, I taught ChatGPT how to make playlists for me because it was taking me a bunch of time. Sure. And she was like, "Oh my gosh, you would be a great fit for this seminar," because she wants basic stuff like that. Like she's not talking about like building out huge systems or anything like that. These guys just need basic stuff.
Yep.
And so I said yes to it. They flew me out to San Diego and put me in this fancy freaking hotel, which was a long
nice.
And it was a paid gig. And I stood there for a few hours and blew these guys' minds on like things that ChatGPT can do because none of them had ever really played with it very much.
Yeah.
And so, and had I not said yes to that, I would not. I have 4 of them as prospective clients right now. They've invited me back to their next association meeting to go deeper dive on some of the things we were talking about. So if I had never, and I have energy around it, it's fun, obviously. And so if I had not said yes to that, then I wouldn't have any of that opportunity.
And I love that. And I think I'm gonna refer back to my first episode with Brian again. Brian told me, and I know you and I have talked about this, Brian told me when I first got into consulting, he's like 75% of the world doesn't know what you know, and the other 25 need to be reminded. And what you just talked about is a perfect example. Like we think because we use these tools every day, because we do these things every day, doesn't everybody know about that? I've had multiple friends and I've told them, I said, we'll sit down anytime you want and I'll show you what I do and how you could do it. Just posting stuff on LinkedIn. They're like, I don't know I'm on LinkedIn, but I don't really understand it. And I'm like, happy to help you.
I know.
And I wouldn't put myself out in the world as a LinkedIn expert. You probably wouldn't put yourself out into the world as a ChatGPT expert, but definitely somebody who knows stuff about things. And guess what? We have energy around sharing it and it helps people. And that's definitely something that we like to do. And I think that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing, is that we don't realize how much we use some things and how smart we are at some of the things that we're using.
100%.
And so, so I have created a 90-minute workshop that I made a flyer and I taking it around to Park 100 and dropping it off at these small businesses. It basically says, I know you need to use ChatGPT, and I know you're afraid to try. Bring me in and I'll teach your team just in 90 minutes, really basic, how to use ChatGPT, because most people are just scared to even give it a shot. They just don't even know how to try. And so I have had so many friends that I have had coffee with and met with recently who are like, one of them is a senior VP with JLL, commercial real estate agent. One of them is the owner of a commercial roofing and painting business.
I love it.
Neither of them know how to use it and are like, please, can you just help me?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, I will teach you. And so because of that, I was like, look, I'm not going to charge my friends to teach them and help them.
Sure.
But if these small businesses need this help with this, I would love to do that.
And what I love about this is that you did a version of direct mail with your flyer. You took it was direct walking, not direct mailing, but I love it. And that's, I'm sure you had some conversations in the, in those offices. And here's the other thing that I think.
I just did this week.
Oh, you just did this.
I haven't done the dropping off yet.
Okay. Here's the thing that I think some salespeople, they'll look at this thing and go, well, everybody else on my team is doing this. And they're successful. I guess I need to do that too. There is a part of trusting your gut in sales and doing things differently, whatever that happens to look like. And if you believe in it, and if you've seen that it works and it builds relationship, which I know you and I both believe is at the heart of sales, then why not? I'm going to send people fidget toys.
Yep. Totally.
Why not? Totally. There are a lot of people with ADHD out there.
I love to send Grove cookies to people. Yeah. And actually, I was on a webinar not long ago, and a guy was talking about that he sent Grove cookies to a prospect that he knew was training for a marathon every week, and was like, I'm going to keep sending them until you take my call. And of course, the guy who took his call thought it was hilarious. He was like, that's great. I will totally take your call. So and I just coached this morning a team that I was coaching. I was talking about one of the things I always say in sales is, if you're not getting anything back, change the message or change the channel. Either your messaging isn't right, or you're not getting there through the right channel. So you got to switch it up. And also, if somebody text messages you, don't call them. I know that in sales, we've been trained to just immediately pick up the phone, but communication in the world right now is such that if someone is going to communicate with you in a certain fashion, you should follow that communication line.
Yep.
And get back to them that way.
I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the things that I will say to people is, when you have a prospect and you have a conversation and you set up your CFD, which we know is a clear future date, when you set up that clear future date, I ask also, what's your preferred method of communication? Would you rather me send you an email? Would you rather that I text you? Would you rather that I call you? Because my 17-year-old daughter the other day, when I said, she's like, my friend won't answer my text. And I looked at her and I said, well, just pick up the phone. You should have seen her face. She's like, pick up the phone? She's like, Dad, that is so rude. I'm like, I think it's rude to just text people all the time but again, whatever works. I think that's important. And I love what you said. Like, if you're not getting it back, change what did you say? Change the channel or change the message.
Yeah.
I love that. All right. Yeah. So, I want to talk just a little bit about how you incorporate. So 2 things before we get into the rapid fire. How do you incorporate yoga and what you do as a yoga instructor into your sales training, your sales process? What can people take away? What's one little match they can strike from Ashley when they walk away from this? They go, "Ooh, yeah, I'm going to start doing that right now."
So here's the thing. I know that everybody thinks that meditation is this really hard thing that you have to like sit still and be quiet and all that. And
guilty. I used to think that.
I know. Well, and there is something to be said for doing that type of meditation from time to time. It does not have to be done every time. However, your mindset is the number one most important part of the sales process. If your mind
say that again.
your mindset is the most important part of the sales process. So you can follow all the lines of the process, follow all the rules, but if your mindset is trash, then none of it's going to work anyway.
Totally agree with that.
One of the things that yoga teaches you and yoga and meditation teach you is that you don't give a story to the thoughts that come in your head while you're meditating. The thoughts come in, you let them go out. You don't give them any recognition or acknowledgement. You just let them flow in and flow out.
So give me an example of that.
In meditation or in sales?
In sales, where I would not give a story to the things that are coming into my head.
Imposter syndrome is the best example that I can think of. When you are getting ready to pick up that phone and call a CEO or call a GM of a car dealership, let the thought flow in and flow out that person is not willing to talk to you and that you are not qualified enough to speak to that person, that you don't know enough to speak to that person. Those are all just thoughts. And you can just let them go out just the same as they came in.
That's all. And can I just say to you that is, as I was preparing to record today, I was like, why am I doing a podcast? Nobody cares. And this is real for folks that are listening who think like, oh, Jason's got a podcast and oh, Ashley's like, just because we talk about imposter syndrome and ways to deal with it doesn't mean that we've got it all figured out. I had a major thing today. Like I almost canceled. I almost was like, you know what? I know you got a busy afternoon. We'll just do it at another time. And here we are having a fantastic conversation that wouldn't have happened if I would have to use your words, if I would have put a story to the thoughts that were coming into my head, which I did not do. I love that.
And that is what my yoga teaches me, is that I can just take a breath and move on to the next thing, move to the next pose, move to the next posture. I can just take a breath and move on to the next thing and let those thoughts go and not give them any attention. And it's taken me a long time to get there. I mean, I've practiced yoga for almost 15 years and I've practiced it seriously for about 5 years and been an instructor only for a year. But the last 5 years of really letting myself sink into the practice has changed the way my brain works completely. I mean,
that's facts.
Take a deep breath in a situation and just move on to the next thing.
I love that. I love that. So if you are in the Indy area and looking for a yoga place, where do you teach? I teach at the Yoga Studio, and we have a studio in Broad Ripple, and we are opening a brand new studio in Carmel that will also have Pilates at both studios. Fantastic. And then the new studio is going to have saunas also. Ooh, okay. Yeah. All right. So as we wrap it up and bring it home, you are one of the people I watched your follow number last year absolutely blow up on LinkedIn. Absolutely blow up. And if I'm being honest, which I'm going to be, because that's what this podcast is all about, I was a little jelly. I was like, fuck. I wish like what is she doing? Why is it not, there for a minute I was like, why isn't that happening for me? And then, I pressed pause and I was like, no, you are doing specific things that I wasn't doing and still don't do as well as you. And that's exactly why it's not happening. Not that there's necessarily a formula, but I will say one of the things that I know you're going to talk about is, and you may have a phrase for it, but like hanging out in the comments, which most people don't do. So just give us, in the spirit of 75% of the world doesn't know the things that we know, what are the 2 or 3 things that you would recommend to somebody who comes to you and goes, Ash, I'm on LinkedIn. I don't feel like it's working. I'm not getting new connections. I'm not connecting with people. I don't get this platform. Give me your 2 to 3 best things that I can do.
So the first thing that you're probably doing is being too businessy and stuffy, and you need to knock that shit off and just get down to what is real.
I agree with that.
Every single thing in the world does not have to tie to a business lesson for it to belong on LinkedIn.
Agreed.
And what you and I both know is that relationships and building trust is how revenue is created.
Yes.
That's how people buy. And if they can see your face and know your stories and understand who you are, they're more likely to buy from you, no matter what your product is.
Totally agree with that.
Also, the comments, like you mentioned, When I've had, like I said, I've had a LinkedIn profile since 2008, and I did not use it really until about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, maybe. And it's been about a year and a half now.
And you have how many followers currently? Roughly?
Creeping on 12,000.
Do you know where you started in 23 and where you are now? Like how many?
Like 1,500.
So in less than a year and a half, you have increased your following by over 10,000.
Mm-hmm.
I hope people are paying attention.
No bots, no cheating. I'm in networking groups, but that's not the same thing. We support each other, things like that. And,
right.
And there's no algorithm chasing. The other thing I would say is don't bother chasing whatever the algorithm thinks it's doing. Show up as yourself, tell your story, share your things, and let the people who need to find you, and don't worry about the rest of it, because the algorithm thing is just nonsense.
I love that. And I heard somebody say, don't follow the algorithms, because they're like, for all y'all that out there that just think there's one, there are multiple. And to also validate what you said, I will tell you that I think to date, my most watched video was the one where I held the bottle of antidepressants and said, I just got put on these meds. And it was for those of you who are like, it has to be this long and it has to be this was a 6.5 minute video, unedited, unscripted, me pissed off about being on antidepressants and being real. And I literally recorded. When I was done, I hit post. I never went back and watched the video again. I remember a couple of the things that I said, but I don't remember a whole lot. And that got me more, and it wasn't a business thing, and that's not why I did it, but that got me more DMs, more text messages, more emails from people who were like, dude, thank you so much for putting this out there. I would never have the guts to do this. I've been on meds for blah, blah. I mean, the messages were unreal. I probably got close to 60 messages from all different types of media letting me know. And if you would have said that that's what's going to come of it at the beginning, I would have told you, I was like, no way, people aren't going to watch this. It was a 6.5 minute video.
Yep. I mean, people want to connect. They want to find things that make them feel validated in themselves, in other people.
Totally.
And I think, and also the thing about, not showing up personally on LinkedIn or whatever, so silly, because here's the thing. There are 100,000 coaches out there, and we all have different philosophies, but we're all talking about coaching salespeople.
Right.
And so who do you connect with? Do you connect with me because I'm a stepmom and I'm talking about what being a stepmom is like? And so that's what makes you reach out to me? Is it yoga? Because I'll tell you what, right now, I use the search bar on LinkedIn to search yoga all the time, because if anybody has yoga in their profile, then we should probably be friends. And so regardless of what industry they're in, I will reach out to them. And because it's a personal thing that I'm like, let's be friends. We like yoga.
I think that's so unbelievably important. And the whole, be yourself, be who you are. And I think so many of us are afraid. I know for me, my fear in doing that wasn't that. My fear, I've never been, I grew up a pale-faced, redheaded, freckle-faced, big red afro in the 70s kid that got made fun of all the damn time. So what did I learn? If I make fun of myself, I can make fun of myself better than anybody can. And then nobody wants to make fun of me. So I don't care. I don't care if people laugh. I don't care if people say my idea is stupid. I don't care about any of that. My biggest fear was, what if I put this thing out there that I care about deeply, and nobody responds, and the world just goes, meh. Mm-hmm. And I will tell you that I did it anyway, and I've never had that response. And so again, that's just the bullshit stuff that comes in our head that we don't want to give a story to, and let it pass and move on to the next thing. All right. Speaking of that, we are going to run through what I call rapid fire. See that little connection to fire? 5 questions that we are going to start putting at the end of the podcast every time. So you have a choice of 3: cold call, cold email, or LinkedIn DM. Which one would you bet on right now, and why?
LinkedIn video DM right now, because
video DM. Love that. Say more.
Because it always gets watched every time. And they almost always respond. almost always respond, even if it's just a thumbs up or no thanks. It's rare.
I love that. Question 2, what's a book, podcast, or resource you think every salesperson should check out?
Yoga.
Say more about that. Why?
I just think people are sleeping on yoga, and that it is so good for your mind and your body and your soul. And it will, if more salespeople were using their brain in that way, it would be so helpful for the thoughts. It really would.
Can you imagine how much nicer it would be for the client? It would be so less high pressure and so more chilled. I love that.
And also, I love the Challenger sale. That's my other one.
The Challenger
sale.
Okay. Is that a book?
It is. It's a book, and it talks about sales personalities and not being just best friendy, but also being assertive and like having your client's best interest in mind, and challenging the sale a little bit.
Okay. The Challenger sale. I love that. What I love about this is I'm going to learn all kinds of shit that I need to go read and look up and listen to and all the things. Right? Question number 3, what's one sales myth you wish would disappear forever?
That high cold calling numbers make a salesperson better and good at sales. That like high cold calling numbers just mean somebody's dialing the phone a lot. You can be better.
That's a great point. What's a recent spark of inspiration you got inside or outside of sales that's helpful, that's helped you lately?
Just thinking outside the box and looking around at the buildings that I'm driving past every day and saying to myself, what is it? Why do I not think that these people need the knowledge that I have, and how can I help them? And realizing that I don't need to make calls all over the country necessarily. I can walk into businesses right in my backyard, shake hands, introduce myself, and probably get just as much business doing it that way.
I love that. All right, last one. Finish this sentence. The best salespeople I know always blank.
Always have another question. They're always.
That's so good.
It does not matter when you think the conversation might be over, I guarantee they'd have another question to ask if they felt like they needed to.
That is fantastic. All right, Ash. So one last thing as we think about so the way that I'm framing this is we all have a sales toolkit, right? We all have lots of different things that are in our sales toolkit. I ask people to think about that as a matchbox of things. So you can pull out different matches for different things. If you could only pull one match out of your matchbox and strike it, what would that one match be and why?
My authenticity and my ability to show up as myself all of the time, and to not ever let somebody else affect how I show up, because it's how I show up that is going to affect the sale.
Wow. That is a mic drop moment. And for those of you listening, rewind that, write it down, and make it a mantra, because that is some good shit right there that's going to help you sell some things and get out of your head. Yeah. Ashley, it has been an absolute pleasure getting you on the show today. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
We will have lots of links down below for people to check out what Ashley is doing, how you can connect with her for yoga, for LinkedIn, maybe a ChatGPT session, whatever it is that you've gotten out of this. Thank you so much. And remember, everybody who's listening, strike the match, because fire always wins. Thanks so much.